Well, hey guys, just found out earlier today that MLG, Major League Gaming, Call of Duty Pro, Phizzurp, passed away on Sunday. I'm sure you guys have probably heard, and if not, then this is a kind of a touching story. And I know I haven't even uploaded too much recently, and sorry that I'm uploading something that's kind of sad, but also something that I would like to let you guys know about and talk about, and I'm sure you guys can read it in the description. But first, my condolences to the family, to his girlfriend who was in the car with him. And in case you guys didn't hear, he's 23 years old. He was driving in Colorado, and he ended up turning over his car several times, and might have been speeding, might have been drinking. Cops say that alcohol was involved and possibly speeding, and the girlfriend said no, he wasn't drinking, but that's not the point. Again, it's not for me to judge, and it's just a sad situation altogether that he left us so early, and he ended up rolling his car several times, hitting a few trees and it sounds like a power pole, and killing him and killing his friend in the process. One was heard dead at the scene, and the other one died later at the hospital that evening. The girlfriend was with them in the vehicle, and she survived. Looked like she broke her arm or something, but she was conscious, and she made it through. And very sad. I'm 37 years old, and he's 23. So, meaning that when he was born, I was 14. And it always reminds me of, whoever thought that, 11, 12 years old is midlife. It's very, very tough. It's very hard to imagine being so young and having so much ahead of you, and one day waking up and find out that your friend or somebody has passed on. But it also gives me an opportunity to talk to you guys about something personal. One of my very low life moments that I lived through in my 37 years of living, and it came across. It reminded me of what I went through back then, and how fortunate I was of the turnout. So anyways, about 7 years ago, about this time frame, it was probably in August. It was probably September. I was at a friend's house. We decided to have a party, preseason football. I'm a Bronco fan, and I had my friend. He was a Steeler fan, and we had a little get together at the house. And I decided to, drink. I wasn't planning on getting carried away, but I was drinking stuff that I don't really drink. Usually I'm a beer drinker, but this was harder alcohol, and stayed there pretty much the whole day. So I got there, I think, around 2, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I left around 10 to 11 o'clock at night, and I decided to drink. And I'm very, for my own personal thing, I don't like sleeping at people's houses. It's just something that I'm not comfortable with. I like sleeping at home in my own bed. And that night, I decided to drive home, and, rather than stay there. And even my friends that were there, they told me, Matt, don't leave. You need to stay, and you're drunk, you need to stay home, and stuff like that. And I didn't listen. I actually snuck out, got in my car and left without even saying goodbye. I just left because I knew they would try to get me to stay, and I didn't want to stay, but it was a smart thing to do. I should have stayed home. I should have stayed over there. So anyways, I was driving home, and I'm in a neighborhood I'm not really used to. I think it was like one of the first or second time I've been to his house, so I didn't know the area very well. I ended up coming across a street that I recognized and said, "Oh, I know where this goes," and so I decided to turn on it and take it to an area where I knew where I was at. I can get home safely, or at least I'm aware of what's going on. And I decided to text my friend. This is back before they had the text laws about using your phone and stuff. And so I turn on the street, recognize the street, turn on it, look down. I was texting my buddy, and sure enough, I look up and the road dead ends. What it is, it was a wooden barrier, just kind of like you see a basically poles with wooden poles with wood planks going across it to block off the road. And for some reason on that street they had a certain probably like a quarter mile where it wasn't complete. It was nothing but grass, tall weeds and stuff like that. And I thought it would after it went all the way through, and it didn't. So by the time I looked up, there was a barrier, and also right behind the barrier was a dirt a mound, a dirt berm, if you want to call it that, and probably a couple 2-3 feet high. And I was driving a Honda Civic at the time, and I drove my car into the barricade, and I call it the Dukes of Hazzard. I did a Dukes of Hazzard off the berm, the dirt berm. I ended up windshield was completely cracked. Front end of my car was completely smashed into the engine. I think 2 or 3 out of the tires were popped because I lifted off high enough to where when it landed, it blew out the tires. And definitely one of my low life moments that I've ever been in. And to carry on, I was so drunk that I was even trying to start the car, even though the car was completely totaled. That's how bad it was. I also made the decision to call my father at that time and let him know that I got into an accident by myself. He asked me if I was drinking, and I told him yes, I was. And this is 11 o'clock at night. My parents are already in bed. They're already ready. At maybe 11:30 at night. I think it was closer to 11. And they're already in bed. They're already, sleeping. And giving that phone call to my dad, letting him know that, and that I was drinking and driving and got into an accident. It was very bad moment. Something I never really I never dreamed of doing to my family, to my parents, or have happen. And so my dad hurried up and got in his car and drove over to see how I was. And I walked out without, basically just with a couple of scratches. I didn't break anything. Nothing was hurting. I wasn't in any pain. I was so drunk, my body was so loose that nothing was hurting. It was just, next day I think I had a couple scratches on my arm from probably the glass or hitting the steering wheel. I'm not sure. And sure enough, as soon as my dad got there, the police officers got there. And, they asked me, they were very nice officers. I admitted to drinking that day, told them where I was drinking at, not to a point where I was at my friend's house. And I was drinking, and I decided to drive, and yes, I was drinking, and yes, I was under the influence. And again, they were very, very kind to me. They didn't make a big deal up, or they didn't force me or anything like that. But again, the worst part too was that my dad showed up just in time to see them put me into handcuffs. And again, not a great feeling. Your parents never want to see a kid, their own son or their own child, go through that kind of stuff. I'm sure they were happy that I survived it, but they were disappointed in me that my decisions of what I did and the actions I took and the situation I put myself in and where I ended up. So I ended up going to jail that night. With other drunk people in jail, and stayed overnight. They let me go the next day at around noonish, and then the process began up taking all the classes. The DUI ticket was enormous. I had to do community service and all sorts of stuff. And the reason why I decided to tell you guys this is because I was fortunate. You know, if it was a few hours early, kids could have been out in the neighborhood where I was at while I was driving and being stupid. You know, I could have taken a life. Not only my own, but I could have taken somebody else's life, which is you know, very troubling to think about. Especially when you're in jail, especially years later, how fortunate I was from that moment. And, you know, the whole point of the story is that, you know, we make mistakes in our lives, make decisions that are sometimes not right. It's part of life. We do things that we don't think will have any consequences, but sometimes they do, even though you don't think it will happen. And, you know, it's never a fun thing to go through. And I just wanted to share with you guys. It's, again, it touched me with Phizzurp that it was close to what I kind of went through. You know, even though possibly that he wasn't drinking and stuff like that, it was just more of the car accident, the situation of making a bad decision maybe, or just bad luck, you know. And just wanted to share with you guys my little life story there, and just, you know, try to make the right decisions. Try to be on your best. If you decide to drink, please take every precautionary not to. Please get a ride. Get Uber now. Uber's available all the time. They're really cheap. Get a friend to pick you up. If you decide to drink and you want to drive home, make sure you drink water and eat something a couple hours in advance of you leaving. At least 2 or 3 hours. And also depending on how much you drink. So, anyway, guys, that's going to do it for this episode. I hope you can understand what I went through and maybe learn something from it, you know. And anyways, that's all I have to say for that. And again, my condolences out to Phillip's family and girlfriend and friends on losing a good guy. So anyways, guys, I'll catch you guys later. See ya.